Living in America, eye to eye, station to station. Living in America, hand to hand across the nation. Living in America, got to have a celebration. This is the Community Solutions Podcast. Jason Bradley, Andrew Richter from deep in the bowels of our underground lair, where, we're still rioting here in Minnesota a month later.
Well, I tell you what, Jay, I kind of like chaos sometimes.
Yeah?
So it's okay with me to just keep...
Well, they moved up in your neighborhood, so
I know.
Yeah, you can have it.
They were pretty close.
You can have it.
By the way, I do know the song.
Yes.
It's Rocky IV. Right?
Yeah, well, it's from Rocky IV.
Yeah,
it's
that's
not
all
the
I
name
know
of it.
about it.
James Brown.
James Brown's Living in America.
No, it's Apollo. Apollo came
Living in America.
Well,
Ow!
I was still right, kind of.
Yeah, you knew where it was from.
James Brown, wasn't he the running back for the
yes.
Cleveland Browns?
Yeah, it was on CBS for a long time.
He's still alive?
I think so.
Jim Brown, the running back?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think James Brown is not alive still, but
He's not?
I don't think so. I suppose I should look before. That might be news to him if he heard that.
I know he catches us on Spotify. That's what I hear.
No.
He might. No, he did pass away in 2006. That's what I thought.
You're kidding.
So, no.
Wow, that's a long time ago.
Yeah.
And Jim Brown, the football player, is also gone.
Oh, really? Well, that's not good.
So they're both gone.
Yes.
Jim and James.
I also went to high school with a James Brown.
My distinct memory of the class behind me at Cooper, class of 96.
Yeah.
I've probably told you this before. There was a guy named Marcus Harkus, and there was a guy named Lars Larson. That's no joke.
Yeah.
We were at a gym class one time,
Harkus.
and Marcus Harkus and Lars Larson were there, and I just put them on teams just so I could say their name.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, Marcus Harkus.
Yeah, we had an Andy Anderson, and we had
okay.
some of those too. So it's
I'm trying to think of some. I mean, I could come up with some weird names we had. I remember the one librarian where we took his colostomy bag. I just wonder if he ever wants to know where it was.
Why would you touch
My
that?
friend Steve. we were a little rambunctious back then. My buddy Steve, I think, is the one who put Jello or pudding in the pool. I can't remember. It was our principal was whacked though, just whacked about it.
Yeah.
So it was not good. We had a meet the next night or something. It was really bad. That's the stuff back in the day.
Yeah.
What year would that be now? 80, 89, 90, something like that?
Yeah.
Junior high? Boy.
Wow.
It's like 5 years ago, I think. So, Jay.
Yes.
Chaos in the streets. I'm kind of reliving my 2020 nightmare without COVID.
Yeah.
We have the same players, really, if you really think about it. Your take on the chaos in the streets and what's going to happen?
Oh, boy. Yeah, that could be a whole show in and of itself, a part 2 to our last one. There's a lot that's going on. A lot of it's not getting reported. Some of it's getting reported, but obviously now we're starting to find out that there are these. Really, this is
I'm having dinner. So.
My word.
All right. I'll do it.
Anyways, we're starting to find out now that there are these very well-connected Marxist groups, and I know this sounds like conspiracy theory, but they've actually got a website and all that kind of stuff.
Every time Marxists get power, they always kill the other side, by the way.
Yes, they do.
Just to let you know, if they ever win.
Yeah. Well, if not...
I think the Great Replacement's bad. This is even worse.
Yes, this is terrible. And so anyways, they've been using these signal chats they've supposedly got one in every city council ward of Minneapolis, plus in around suburbs and stuff like that. And they've been tracking ICE's license plates, their movements. They have people ready to swarm in when they stop places. And
why is this not happening all over the country, though?
Well, I think because the incidents are happening here. They can whip people up easier here because of the shootings, right? But we found out, that Renee Good was connected with this group, and now that
Peretti,
Peretti, Alex Peretti was also connected with this group.
Yeah, that's
there was a video from a week ago where he's attacking ICE, spitting at them, kicking their car, and getting in an altercation. So it's. I know we're meant to believe this is a Minnesota dad, but at the end of the day, yeah, you can still have children and not be a good guy.
Yeah, well, and I do blame I do blame Walls for a lot of this, and I do blame the Minneapolis PD as well.
Oh, absolutely.
But I mean, Walls has literally told people to go out and do this.
Yes.
Which is, first off, he should be impeached. Can we just say this? He should be impeached. Yeah. It should be unanimous.
Absolutely.
The lieutenant governor should be impeached. They should both be impeached.
I'll take
But
that.
I got an idea.
Yeah.
And I've been floating this around. Because I want to get back to the Quality Leering Center and all that.
Yes.
Okay, because this has gotten us off subject from this, even though I support the policy, but it's gotten us off track. I think this is what Trump ought to do. First off, Tom Homan's the right man for the job.
Yeah.
Okay, can we just say that? Okay,
yeah.
And I like Christy Noem, but I think she'd be great administratively. I think you need a law enforcement person in charge of Homeland Security. That's my opinion, but that's for another show. But let me ask something. I think Trump should call Walls to Washington. Because you know me. I don't care about principles. I don't care about being right. All I want to do is win. Okay? That's what the Democrats want to do. That's what we have to start doing.
Right.
Okay?
Well,
you got to stop arguing with each other and just all we got to do is win. I don't care what's right anymore. I don't care about none of that.
okay, I know you're being a little facetious, but
not really. I'd sit down with Walls and I'd say, you know what? Here's what we're going to do, Walls. I'm going to dismiss everything that's coming against you. Walls has no money. He has no money.
Right.
I have more money in my checking account than he does.
For his defense fund.
I mean, he has nothing.
He knows he's in trouble.
And he could go to jail. It's possible that this could happen. I'd say, you know what? Here's what we're going to do. You're going to cooperate. You're going to tell people to clamp it down. And we're not going to prosecute you, and you're going to be the fall guy, like the mob. You're going to name the names, and we'll leave you alone. I'd cut a deal with him.
For the fraud or for the insurrection?
Both. I would say, look, you name names.
Yeah.
You can be the unindicted co-conspirator if we want to. But we're going to get to the bottom of it one way or another. We can do this the hard way or we can do this the easy way.
Yeah.
And I know there's some people who are going to be upset about that, but you know what? You've got to serve the greater good. You've got to get peace, and you got to get the crooks.
Yeah.
And we can get them now, or we can get them 5 years from now after legal BS goes on for that long. So I'd cut a deal.
Okay.
I'd sit down and just cut a deal with them and say, that's what we're going to do. You either take it, or we're going to take you to the cleaners. One of the two.
Right. Well, and he doesn't have anything.
He has nothing.
Which surprises me.
Doesn't surprise. What does he have an army pension?
No, but I mean, he did serve in Congress for how long? I mean, look at Ilhan Omar. It only took her how long to become
6 years you need a pension.
Yeah.
Not too long.
Yeah.
6 years to get a pension, boy. If only my dad would have known when he started driving a truck back in the 70s.
Right.
Instead, he had to put in 35. So let me ask you another question, though. It seems like Minneapolis is going to stay in defiance of this. And does the MPD, does Fry run the MPD, or does the MPD run themselves? Because they're doing nothing. Did you hear the James O'Keefe story?
Yes.
Where the hotel people were in on telling It was
Well, I
Megyn
didn't
Kelly
hear
had
that.
him. Okay,
But yeah.
when Megyn Kelly had him on, and O'Keefe went to a hotel, and they doxed his car, his rental car, and somebody at the hotel notified. They signaled to somebody that he was there. He had to wear a bulletproof vest
Yeah.
going in there. So it was. So yeah, it is pretty coordinated.
I did hear him say that, of anything he's ever covered at any time, this is the least safe he's felt. This is the most danger he felt like he's ever been in, of anything, anywhere. And that's not the first time I've heard that from people.
And he's been to Detroit.
It's been down where the cartels are.
Yeah, that's true. He has been. So
Oh.
that's pretty dang scary. I'll tell
Yeah.
you. But something. I mean, but does the MPD, does the police chief take orders from the mayor?
I mean, technically, the police chief is, I guess, hired by, right? If we look at some of the other city councils, obviously these are manager council type situations. The police chief is hired by the city, and then the police chief is in charge of all the other personnel.
True, but can the mayor say, "Hey, police chief, I'm going to tell you how to do your job and who to arrest and who to"? I mean, is that?
I think they can put pressure on him. I don't know that he has the ability to tell him this is what you're going to do, and he does it. But I think also, I mean, they brought this guy in during Fry's tenure, so they knew what they were looking for.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't.
nobody could be worse than because I believe the previous chief, Arredondo or whatever.
Yeah, Arredondo.
He should be charged with perjury. He lied at Derek Chauvin's trial. He lied through his teeth.
Right.
So I mean, he should be. I thought you can't fall off the floor, okay?
Yeah.
And that's maybe we've fallen off. But O'Hara's from New Jersey.
Yeah.
I mean, we got to go to New Jersey to get a police chief.
We had to go to some place that was less
Virginia,
corrupt than Minnesota.
You got to go to Virginia to get Fry. You got to go to Michigan to get Keith Ellison. You got to go to Nebraska to get Walls. I mean, just nuts. By the way, I got to bring up one more thing before. Michelle Tafoya, what do you think of her? And I didn't think she was going to do it.
I didn't know, but I guess we'll see. I mean, she doesn't have a track record, so you kind of know where she stands if you've watched her on shows and whatever. But
I've been disappointed with the reaction in Minnesota among some, because quite frankly, we have nobody to take on. Quite frankly, the idea of Flanagan and Crazy Eyes Angie Craig are
either one of those. Yeah.
I mean, but I've been disappointed with the reaction. I try not to argue on social media or anything anymore because it's just pointless and I have better things to do. But somebody was complaining that she wasn't pro-life enough. And I'm going, this is just some Republicans are just so stupid. What was the point of repealing Roe v. Wade? Can I ask you that?
To put it to the states.
Okay, so if she's running for U.S. Senate, what the hell does that have to do with the state of Minnesota?
Exactly.
So then what does it matter if she's not perfect on the issue? What difference does it make?
She's better than Peggy Flanagan or Angie Craig. But here's the thing. We have a problem. It doesn't matter where you look.
Fighting.
And we'll get into this, I'm sure, with our guests a bit. But as we look at some of the signal chat stuff, and it seems like, and again, I don't know that we have the proof yet, but we have circumstantial evidence that Peggy Flanagan is involved, that Brad Tabke is involved.
He's certainly involved.
And that we actually do have evidence because there's screenshots of his social media. But that our pitchforks and torches down at the Capitol, obviously they're not in session yet, I know that, but to have him resign, I don't understand. He is fomenting the violence in our city. He is fomenting these communist, the Revolutionary Communist Party, the Democratic Socialists of America. He's throwing in with these guys and with this, ice out group to overthrow our government, and nobody's doing anything. And I'm just as upset at Pam Bondi as I am that other people in the state aren't holding them accountable.
Yeah, I don't know. We could do a whole show on what's going on with Pam Bondi, with Cash, with not so much Cash, but it's been almost a year since the JFK and MLK files were ordered to be released.
Yeah,
where are they?
I don't know.
Well, who's got them?
Do you?
If I had them, I'd have a book done about it right now. But we got the BS we got before with a bunch of unorganized, redacted crap that took weeks to go through.
Right.
Where the media got the narrative on it before you could go through it. But here's my question. Mm-hmm. How is it? How do we not know where this stuff is and who's in charge? How do we not know that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so if the CIA has files in room 325, okay, and Donald Trump's the boss of the executive branch. You can
absolutely
dislike him if you want. You can disagree with him if you want. You disagree in the Army, you spend 10 years at Fort Leavenworth. These guys get an order to open something and don't do it, and nothing happens. How do we not know who's defying them?
Yeah.
Where's the investigation? I'm off $1,000 on my income tax, and I got somebody so far up my ass, he's coming out my mouth. But yet these people can hold these documents. I'm just not going to do it.
Huh.
Sorry, it's just national security.
Right.
It's in Dick Cheney's will that we can't open it forever and ever and ever.
Yeah.
So how is that? How is that allowed? We know nothing about Thomas Matthew Crooks. We still know nothing.
Yeah.
COVID, the collusion with the social media and all. We know all about it. Who's being prosecuted?
Yeah. Nobody.
So
yeah. Yep.
I'm going to get hot under the girdle here.
We're just getting going. Hold on.
You get a lot angrier, I think, as this show goes on, ladies and gentlemen. I'll warn you. All right, you bring our guest in. I'm gonna lay off for a second.
You're gonna cool down and
pass that Jack Daniels.
You breathe in, you breathe out. You breathe in, you breathe out.
In the nose, out the mouth. Then the sun.
Yeah. Well, we've had him here before. He's done great work on really with chips.
Oh, sorry.
He has done great work on tracking what our legislature does. Good friend of the show, good friend of ours, John Augustine, with the Legislative Evaluation Assembly.
Thank you for having me again.
Of course. Looks like your annual report has just come out, and boy, is it. Yeah, well, it is, and you're going to go through it with us, so we're thankful for that so that we don't have to do it.
John, I think we should make, before you get going too far, the day the legislature adjourns, and Jay, that what I'm for. Mm-hmm. I'm for going back to where the legislature only meets in the odd years. And then I want like a March primary the next year. Because I hate the August primary. So I want the legislature to meet once so they can do we limit the damage. Mm. Then they don't meet again until January of the next odd year. And then we'll deduct their pay. We should have less legislators. That's another thing when I'm governor. We're going to redistrict to have less. We got more legislators in California.
Yeah.
Okay, there's no reason for that. We should have a unicameral legislature, and it should take 60 votes to pass something.
And for any statewide offices, we should have an electoral system for the state level. Yeah,
that would be a good idea too. And you know what else would be a good idea? That the some of these offices like auditor and stuff there should be no R or D by somebody's name.
No,
that's all somebody does is just R or D by that, and it's a shame. So I'd like to know where our auditor has been recently.
Well, the legislature did not have partisan designation for many years. There was a decades where it did not.
Really,
and in 1974 they brought that in. Because people people who were in power thought, well, we can capitalize on not being Republican at the time in 1974, so.
Wow.
But anyway, thanks for having me. It's easy to forget things that happen. There's so many outrages that come along from one month to the next. It's easy to forget what's actually happened or what hasn't happened. But they actually did release the JFK files in March of 2025.
They released them all?
I think so.
Really? Because if I remember right, there was
very little not. Now, Epstein is that's another story. But
well, see, to me, Epstein, this is what I don't understand.
Yeah.
Why do the Democrats want it released so much? Because here's my question. They want to get Trump. Okay, I get that.
Right.
But these were in the hands of Merrick Garland for 4 years. If there was something on Trump, don't you think they would have released it?
Yeah.
So what is going? I'd like to see him because I want to see what the powerful get away with and hold them accountable the way they hold us accountable. But I'm flabbergasted as to why it's become an issue now. Why is it an issue now? And 4 years ago, it wasn't.
I don't know. Terrible messaging. I remember Pam Bondi with the fake binders of a brand new revelation.
Wasn't it on her desk or something?
Then all of a sudden, we didn't have anything. There weren't any. Before that, she said it was on her desk. So
how about we decide if there's something there? Now?
So,
oh, there you go.
I can read.
Yeah.
So
anyway. That was pretty brutal. Right. Anyway, we digress.
You do.
Wow.
It's your show, though. So
I love it when I get told off. It's like being married. The floor is yours, John.
Well, we finished our annual report on the legislature in early December, and this year we had 9 honorees, all from the Senate. I can mention who they are if you like. We have Senators Cal Barr, Steve Drazkowski, Steve Green, Kerry Heintzman, Jeff Howe, Bill Liske, Eric Lucero, Andrew Matthews, and Nathan Wiesenberg. And there's a lot that went on. It was the session began in chaos. Now we're in between sessions and we have chaos too. But the session began in chaos when one of the people that ran in 2024 was not eligible to be elected. That got elected, and so that what would have been a 67-67 tie wasn't, because there was a vacancy. And if you're on a city council, almost anywhere, or school board, if you have a vacancy, and say it's a couple of vacancies or something, that will change the amount needed for a quorum, right? Because it's based on how many people are actually seated.
Yeah.
But our Supreme Court, which has... we know who's been appointing the judges for a long time. In this state, it's been pretty much one-party control since in the last 20 years for that.
John, can I ask a question?
And
on
so
that?
they ruled that you had to have 68 for a quorum, even though you had 133 members eligible to be seated. So when they did that, then they had to come to some form of power sharing agreement.
But let me ask you a question about that. Why do the courts get to decide this? I mean, we both know they're supposed to interpret law and not make it. I mean, the House is supposed to make up their own rules, right?
Right, and that was the very first thing that we scored in our report, which did really influence the course of the session. Resolutions that the House and Senate passed regarding their internal rules. And you mentioned Brad Tabke earlier. That was a different legislative race that was controversial because you had declared 14-vote margin of victory, and later it was acknowledged that 20 to 21 ballots were possibly discarded or can't couldn't be located. We're not. So the amount of unmonitored ballots was larger than the margin of victory. So that could have been challenged too, right? But part of the power sharing agreement it was that they weren't going to challenge it. And once the Supreme Court ruled that you had to have 68 for a quorum, it was pretty much a done deal that Representative Tabke was not going to get thrown out. But they went further than that, in that the House Rules Resolution, let's see if I can find it exactly here. This thing keeps slipping down. But the House Rules Resolution, in the case of, so no election for a candidate could be contested without prior communication from a court. That was part of the power sharing agreement, the internal rules resolution that they passed. Now, that's not actually in line with the state constitution, which says that the members of the legislature ultimately are the can determine and judge the eligibility of the members.
Right.
But
they can refuse to seat somebody.
Yes. But and like I said, whether or not it was possible for Tabke's to really be challenged, they nevertheless didn't have to say that the courts got the final say, which is what basically this says. So they deferred that to a court, and then in the case of a court action, any contest had to be referred to an equally split House Ethics Committee. So that's not going anywhere, right?
Yeah.
and which would have control over contest procedures, but only after all expected court actions and appeals were concluded. And the Ethics Committee could decide by a majority vote to make a recommendation on an election contest, but if they could decide to do nothing, and no minority report would be allowed. So it would take 68 members to reject election returns. So the system they set up was court supremacy there, which is not in line with the Constitution. So we negatively scored that. I mean, there were practical considerations why they did the House power sharing agreement, because they got a speakership, although the no bill or conference committee report could be removed from the calendar for the day unless both the speaker and the House minority leader agreed to remove it. And that's not normally how it would go, but because of the power sharing, that's how it went, and so forth. There's in the Senate, there was also a tie in the Senate for a little bit because of a vacancy due to death. But in the Senate, they also had a internal rules resolution, of course, and most of it was just stuff that has been in place since at least the COVID era, and a lot of it was expanded ability to do remote participation, remote voting. And that there was language that tied that to in cases of emergency and so forth, and that language has been removed. And not only has that language been removed, but the Senate also repealed language that prohibited per diem from being paid to people who were participating remotely.
So they're getting their per diem even though they're participating remotely.
Yes.
Well,
and then of course you also have
free lunch is a free lunch.
A list of They had a list of bills, various budget appropriations bills, omnibus bills that they mentioned in the rules that could not be specifically could not be divided into smaller bills. So that doesn't. That's not in line with the Constitution either, but it's in line with the way they've operated in recent years.
Mm-hmm. So they basically said that the Constitution, the part, and I'm paraphrasing, that says no bill should be more than one single subject, right?
Which should be expressed in its title, yes.
And they basically said, no, we're going to ignore that, and we have to do an omnibus bill.
Yeah, not only that, I mean, they can't, I mean, you could take like bonding, for example, or some other type of bill and say, well, we're going to do the transportation bonding in one bill, or we're going to do the natural resources bonding in a different bill or something. But this specifically would prohibit that type of action. So
Now,
that makes it much easier for people to say, well, I opposed this thing in the bill, but I had to vote for it because, this was in the
Five other things, yeah.
Right.
Now, maybe there's something that I didn't understand in this process, but it seemed to me like it never should have gotten this far because the Democrats were never officially sworn in. They held their own secret swearing-in ceremony,
right.
and they were never actually sworn in.
Right.
So none of their votes should have counted. They never should have been seated. It should have only been the people that actually showed up and got sworn in the Capitol building.
Yeah, I don't know if they chose to challenge that. They challenged a couple of things. They challenged, they challenged that quorum ruling, which they lost.
Right.
They actually, a challenge that they won was the writ of special election. When Walz tried to short circuit the amount of time before a special election could be held to minimize the amount of time that the opposition could have any control or balance. So they actually won that, but then they lost the quorum ruling. But anyway, so that really set the stage for a lot of what followed the rest of the legislature. So you'll see that they in the Senate there were quite a few split votes, and not so much in the House.
So John, give us a couple bills, a couple of, I would call them highlights, but we probably can't call them highlights. What's kind of the major 3 or 4 bills or takeaways from your guys' research for the last year?
Well, I mean, the one major achievement that the House was able to negotiate, I mean, of course, there's the achievements of some of the other stuff that the people that were in charge during the trifecta were still trying to push, would have kept pushing that they knew they couldn't get through, so that never made it to the floor. But the one major achievement they got was to aliens from MinCare, from government coverage of health care. They were able to sign up, I believe, right up through the end of this year, but supposedly it's supposed to be cut off as of the end of 2025.
So MinCare, since what? When was that created? 2012? Something like that?
Yeah, something
Illegal
like that.
aliens have been... I'm told they don't get that. That's what I was told.
Right.
What are you talking about?
During the trifecta, they expanded that to include coverage for them.
Oh, okay. So that wasn't the case before that.
I don't believe so, but how well these
that was monitored.
These bureaucracies were vetting who was supposed to get the benefits. We can see that they weren't vetting who was supposed to get the
else,
the program grants and the child care subsidies and the transportation subsidies and I mean when they start talking about the $9 billion or whatever of fraud that U.S. attorney that just recently resigned said. I mean, that doesn't even start getting into other types of fraud that such as education fraud, which has also exploded post COVID, and now that we have this North Star Promise, where if you have under 80,000 income, it's a free tuition, right, for the college tuition.
You're kidding.
Though that was part of the trifecta. Not for private colleges, but for some community colleges, state universities, and so forth. But it doesn't like all flow directly to the college, right? So some of it goes to the student for supplies, incidentals, or whatever.
So they don't have to pay for anything.
And then there's fake students. People sign up, right?
Of course,
and then they never show up. Mm-hmm. But the college gets the money anyway, so they're not that concerned about it.
So why don't they lower the tuition?
And then you've got the fake the student visas too. So people sign up for they're here on student visas, right? So, but then they're not really taking the classes. But somebody overseas is taking the class for them, like over in India or something. And so there's been a proliferation since COVID of all these virtual or online only college courses. Of course, they charge the same tuition as if you're there in person, which is a total racket. But
yeah, exactly.
Right.
But anyway, but that type of fraud, they're not even touching on that. I mean, some of the federal departments, they're mentioning it.
No, so in India, on one hand, they're taking a college class. On the other hand, they're answering my call from AT&T. Right? That's what's going on.
If you drop them if they drop the guy that's not taking the class, the instructor finds out the guy's not taking the class. If you drop that guy, they're all of a sudden you'll hear from that person. Well, I have to stay enrolled to keep my student visa. And so then they don't want to be the bad guy. So I've heard quite a bit about some of this from people
Charlie Kirk was right. There's no
in the
bigger
system.
racket than college.
So, and then so what did the legislature do with regard to fraud? Okay, so we know there wasn't very little oversight in the bureaucracy, and that plenty of these people connected to some of these agencies were donating heavily to leading figures, leading Democrat figures and so forth. But what was the legislature doing about it? Well, they had part of the power sharing agreement is they had a fraud committee. They weren't able to do subpoenas, but they had a fraud committee that they established, and then also. But then the crazy thing about it is, I mean, nationally this exploded right because of the YouTuber and the New York Times story and so forth. But people here, I mean, we've had even local news stories going back to 2015, 2018 of child care program fraud and so forth, and so this was not a secret to people that were in the legislature. But nevertheless, they were passing bills even this year, in May of this year, that would be more susceptible, enable more fraud. So they passed in it's weird in the the public safety bill, the criminal justice bill. They also put in that housing money for pre-release housing stabilization services. So housing stabilization services was another program that was just rife with fraud, and so bad that a couple months into the summer, early fall, that the Walz administration suspended it. But they just passed that more money for that this May.
If you want to get the cost of housing down, the worst thing you can do is put on a government program.
Right.
Well,
you're not getting the cost down; you're just giving me the bill.
Right.
And then they had, I mean, years ago in the 2-year system, the first year was for the budget, and the second year they oftentimes focused on bonding, capital investment, capital improvements. But now they pretty much try to get bonding every year. So they had a bonding bill, and they had, this has started in recent years as well, where they'll have a bonding bill, which the constitutional requirement is they have to have a supermajority to do bonding. So then they also try to do a cash capital investment bill of projects where they can't maybe get enough votes to do the supermajority, but they still want to do them, and so they just spend cash to do them. And so they had a cash capital investment bill along with the bonding bill, and in that bill,
When my tax dollars are called an investment.
so in that bill, which was not a lot of dollars by comparison to recent bills. But within that bill, they put they created a new housing program. Let's see here, a Housing Finance Authority's local public housing program. So this new program is established for the agency to award funding to local government entities to develop or acquire primarily low-income housing that would be owned by those entities. So by the city or so forth. So a housing development fund would be created in the bond proceeds fund for issuing grants to eligible local entities such as cities or counties. And then tribal entities could get through a revolving loan fund. So and it doesn't start out with a lot of money, but now that they've established this program, it's got a beachhead, it can grow. And of course, it's going to compete with, private landlords and so forth. And they just, during the trifecta, they passed a dedicated sales tax for housing. I mean, there's all kinds of different funds that keep adding for housing. So, but who's really monitoring it and seeing how it's working now before they keep adding more to it?
Now, who's getting this? I mean, who's getting this money?
Well, the Housing Stabilization Services, there were various people fraudulently applying for it, saying that they were providing services to help somebody find housing, and then there were news stories about this where they go to the guy and this person didn't do anything. He came to my door, asked me something, and that was about it. This person had nothing to do with it, but he used his name to help to get a grant. So they shut that one down. But there's all kinds of stuff like that, and then you get these, and they devolve a lot of things to unelected councils. Of course, the Met Council being the largest and most famous one.
Right.
But then there's all kinds of other appointed councils that are given a lot of leeway to basically make policy that the legislature pretty much rubber stamps it. So you have the Workers' Compensation Advisory Council, and it's supposed to be represented by labor and management, but the governor appoints most of the people. So it doesn't necessarily mean you're getting that all of business interests are being represented, for example.
It's just his donors.
But nevertheless, they come up with some recommendations for reforms, and the Senate voted to pass it 53-12. So there were 12 people that objected to it in the Senate, but the House, it went through 134-0. So, and in that,
if there was a resolution that the sun set it in the West, I'm not sure it would pass unanimously. Not sure Leah Finke would vote for that. And just, it's amazing how that can pass 134-0 like that.
Well, I haven't even told you what's in it yet.
I'm not sure I want to know.
Well,
our education.
The craziest thing that's in it, as far as something that can eliminate safeguards and enable more fraud in the future, is that up to now, employers had to file reports with the Department of Labor and Industry to initiate a workers' compensation claim. They changed it so now anyone can file a report to initiate the claim. So
then it's just a floodgate now. There's going to be claims every 2 seconds.
Well, it certainly removes a safeguard. I don't think we need to be removing safeguards against fraud right now. I mean, that's you did touch upon something, as far as somebody on the extreme left, I mean, how could everybody be for the same thing? And then looking at our scores, you'll find people on the extreme left, particularly in the House, that might score as high as some of the Republicans. Mm-hmm. And what I would tell you about that is the upper end of the scoring is kind of more revealing than the bottom end, because there are people, for example, after the House negotiated that repeal of MNCare for undocumented adults, part of what that went with it was the Health, Families and Children Finance and Policy Bill that has a bunch of stuff in it that Republicans, a lot of them probably otherwise wouldn't have voted for. That was part of the deal, global agreement and so forth. But there were people on the far left that opposed it because they wanted even more stuff in the bill. So that happens with omnibus bills. You'll get people on the far left sometimes that will vote against them because they want even more stuff in than what finally got into the final bill. But when you look at the top end of the spectrum, who's scoring the highest, that's pretty consistent over time. I mean, you will find that when a branch of the legislature has majority control, that they may not score as high as when they're in the minority, because it's easier to take a principled stand when the budget bill is going to pass anyway, because they don't need your vote to pass the budget. But like I said, we try to control for that a little bit in our evaluation by scoring several bills that were not budget bills, such as that workers' compensation bill, such as that cash capital investment bill. There was a service dog bill, which sounded good on the surface. A service dog provisions modified in housing accommodations for persons with disabilities. So you think that, well, it'll make it easier for people to be able to train service dogs at the location where they're going to be used. But in reality, it created it made trainers of service dogs a protected class. So you, even if they're not dealing with disabled at all, that in that location, that nevertheless a person providing housing, landlord has to allow people to train service dogs there. Well, some of the customers may not want to live where dogs are. Maybe they have allergies or something, or maybe they don't want to be around that. But they don't have that option anymore. So, And then of course you had the unemployment comp for hourly school workers. That was something that happened during the trifecta time, and that they found funds elsewhere in less popular programs to allow the state to continue covering that. So, local districts want to be able to offer that as a benefit to their staff, right? But they don't want to have to shoulder all the costs for it. So the state agreed to extend the amount of time that they're going to cover it.
You got to love local districts that complain about the state and federal government all the time. Yet, first chance they get to get that free money, they go get it. Incredible. Not incredible. Actually, not incredible. Totally predictable.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of stuff like that. And then there's bills that...
Got a house for sale in South Dakota?
No.
and then there's bills like the Omnibus Commerce Bill, Finance and Policy, which we don't like it when they start throwing a whole bunch of new policy into budget bills. They should really pass up or down on their own merits, obviously. That's at the least you should be able to do when it comes to the spirit of single subject. But nevertheless, they do that. And a lot of people voted for this bill because it contained fixes to some other stuff that they passed that was unworkable. So you may have heard that they had passed a lead cadmium ban that was going to make it impossible for anybody to get keys for anything in the state. Did you hear about that at all? So that was going to cause problems. So they they changed that to allow for that. But the key manufacturers and firefighting foam manufacturers seeking to delay prohibition must file periodic reports with the Pollution Control Agency, documenting a current lack of an effective substitute and a timeline for implementing a substitute. But in the meantime, they can continue to offer products that otherwise there are no alternatives for. So that was in this bill. But they also had in this bill reduce the budget because the one-time bonanza from the surplus, they spent all that, right? And the trifecta and the extra federal COVID dollars and so forth. So some of the departments, the budgets did decrease a bit, but the Commerce Department budget did not. And then they also, in the trifecta, it's been slowly and with lots of embarrassing fits and starts implemented as far as this cannabis bill legalization, right? So and how that's gone, but the Office of Cannabis Management, I guess, falls under the Commerce Department, and they got $69.8 million in this bill. And
I think they're smoking it while they're writing this stuff.
So there's a can grow revolving loan account and so forth. But there's also a bunch of money related to the cannabis management that really has nothing to do with the cannabis industry at all. There's $22.5 million for cannabis industry community renewal grants. So you might think, well, that's to help set up grow places or dispensaries or some type of regulatory advice or something. No, that's just pork is all it is. And it to communities disproportionately harmed by past cannabis prohibition. So insert your favorite, drug-filled
public housing project,
inner city neighborhood,
good times,
reservation, or whatever, and that's just pork, extra pork, just thrown into the budget for that.
Why does it take so much money?
It's basically cannabis reparations, is what it is.
But I mean, why do we have to spend anything to get? If you want to legalize something, then legalize it. What's the thinking behind it?
And that was another thing we touched upon. Another bill that got an awful lot of support was this adult massage services.
I saw that
licensing.
in here.
Woo!
So it authorizes city bureaucracies to do background checks for criminal history of potential operators of such businesses. But these operators, at the same time, they can't really do a pre-screening on the employees. A lot of the rogue employees are the ones that cause a lot of the problems, right, for these adult businesses. But besides that, if you're in the cannabis industry, remember, if you have a past cannabis conviction, you go to the head of the line for getting a license.
Right.
So
yeah, they know you're going to sell.
So because you've been discriminated against in the past, but so there's no consistency in terms of.
Is this allowing for adult massage services? You can get licensed to do that, or is this to weed out the people where they're crossing the line?
It's supposed to be able to allow
breaking the law with
the city bureaucracies to do more background checks for criminal history. So on the surface, that sounds great, okay, but like I said, it's 180 degrees opposite from what they're doing with the cannabis, and without the employers the businesses owners being able to screen for their own employees, it's not going to work anyway. Right, so you can't.
But I guess I'm confused. So are they allowing adult massage services? Because isn't that prostitution and that's illegal? Or is
no? It's not. No, they're not allowing. It's not allowing prostitution, but it's allowing adult entertainment businesses, including massage services and so forth. So those are areas where they're ripe for going into that, getting into that vice area, right? So if you've got convictions for that, they want to be able to screen those people out when they apply for licenses. But if you've got convictions for cannabis distribution, you go to the front of the line. That's what we were trying to point out.
I see. See, being a pastor, I don't understand any of this stuff.
I'm not a pastor, and I don't understand any of this stuff.
But no, we don't need to dwell on that a whole lot longer. But and then as I mentioned on a different show that I was on, there's the fraud time bomb, that ticking time bomb that went off January 1st, 2025, is the paid family medical leave.
Yes,
and that was the last time release gift from the trifecta that went into effect there, and there is a provision of that.
I see it on my paycheck, John.
Yeah, there's a provision of that which I refer to it as the get out of fraud free provision, or get out of fraud charges free. So you think about all the feeding our future prosecutions that have really ramped up in the last year and a half.
Yeah,
most of this stems back to all the extra COVID money in 2020, 2021. That's when it really started mushrooming, as far as the food assistance and all that stuff. So, but in this paid family medical leave, if you misrepresent your circumstances to qualify for a certain level to qualify for paid leave or a certain level of paid leave, and there's a determination made that you've misrepresented your circumstances, if 3 years have elapsed since you filed for it, they can't go after you for the money. They can't recoup the charges. So you get to keep your fraudulent benefits. If
there's a statute of limitations, it's fraud.
As long as you wait 3 years, it says right in the statute that they cannot go after try to recover the charges. So,
oh my word. It's funny how Democrats keep writing like protections into the law for all the fraud. They want to open up, like get rid of roadblocks to that. They want to get rid of prosecutions to that. They want to create loopholes for that. And nobody calls them on it. And when they do, they just kind of shrug and they don't answer it. And nobody actually holds their feet to the fire.
Well, and let me even back up a second. Everybody's making a big deal about I can't remember the YouTube kid,
Nick Shirley,
and the other guy, the older guy. But everybody, I saw somebody on WCCO or somebody. I don't know if it was Kessler or who's that lady with the wrinkly face. I can't. Murphy, and they're all going, "Oh, we reported on this." I'm like, "Well, you didn't go down there,
right? You
didn't follow up."
Yeah.
You just vaguely said there was fraud and moved on to the weather. What stopped with me? You talk about Nick Shirley. What stops Tom Hauser from going down there and doing what Nick Shirley did? They didn't follow up on it. They didn't do anything. Right. They read the word. That's not journalism. Journalism is not regurgitating garbage over and over. Okay? Anyone can do that. But they could have gone down to the Leering Center or the transportation station and saw no transportation going on. You could have filmed that. Instead, they're upset about it, and it's like, oh, we reported. It's like you didn't do squat. Nobody watches your crummy show anyway. I mean, this is. I've said this before. Citizen journalism is the future of it. These news. Nobody under 70 watches the normal news anymore. So these things are gone soon, and citizen journalism is what there's going to be because these people won't do their jobs, can't do their jobs, refuse to do their jobs, and we're going to end up doing all this stuff ourselves. And a free media is not a license to do what you want. This is where, again, it's like freedom of religion, Jay. The amendment gets twisted to fit someone's politics.
Yeah.
Freedom of the media is not freedom from responsibility. Okay? I mean, that's a very powerful thing to have a free media. Okay,
Yes.
but it doesn't come without consequences.
Well, I mean, that's the whole thing. The First Amendment is to allow for the press to hold the government accountable. Instead, they have become part of the cool club so that they get invited to the nice parties, they make powerful friends.
Well, you still have the whole gatekeeping credentialing, right? So there's credentialed media, and then there's the media that are actually doing
what the media used to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like the James O'Keefe's,
That's right. I mean, that is the way it is. It's you've got the old media, if you want to call it that, or whatever legacy media or corporate media, as I like to call it sometimes. And then you got the people who are really doing groundbreaking things, and they're just. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to take the news. Yeah, I just wish. I still think though that the news still seems to have influence in the narrative.
Oh, it does.
To the point where where it's hard to change that once that narrative's already happened. I remember 2020 during the riots, WCCO had Black Lives Matter's website at the bottom of the screen when they were doing reporting.
Yeah. And what happened with that?
And if you listen to, if over the past month, if you've been relying on NPR for your radio news coverage, I mean, what you get versus what you get if you go on to
night
X
and day.
or Twitter or something it's
night and day, but
it's just entirely different.
And it's something I worry about, John, because if
and of
I
course
want
there's fake stuff on there too, but people. But they'll put readers' notes and people can check it,
Yeah, but the thing that worries me is if I want to just get news from my people, I can just go get news from my people. If they want to get news from their people, they can. But there's nothing. It's like there's a benefit to that, but I also see like, okay, if nobody's out there just reporting and not caring whether it's blue or red, then the one side gets it where they want, and the other side gets it where they want, and we already have a divided country to the point where I don't know that it can be reunited.
Yeah,
I mean, I've said that several times. What unites Americans? Name one thing. I can't think of one thing.
Yeah,
nothing.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's true.
Religion, language, culture, system of government,
societal norms.
You can't even agree on what a man and a woman are. How are you going to agree on anything else?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how you can. And
you make me dictator, and I'll tell you what it is. How about that?
Well, I don't know if I'm willing to do that.
Yeah, I don't know if I want that job.
I like you a lot, but yeah.
I don't want to have to suck up to the bodyguards.
So
anyhow,
looking ahead to the 2026 session.
Do we have to?
I'm not sure what we're going to see. Obviously, there's going to be more clash or tension here with the whole Walls, Trump thing going. That people on one side or the other. So what they'll be able to pass, but what they need to pass, I don't know what they need to pass. They don't really need to pass anything. They passed the budget last year. Yeah. So they don't, but I'm sure they'll try to pass some things.
They're just there to cause trouble.
They did another, what do you call it? Panderfest tour around the state since between sessions of which other bonding projects people want to get funded, right? So they'll probably try to pass another bonding bill this year, but that's going to be hard because they need a supermajority to do it. Yeah. And then whether they probably don't need it, and then the amount of applications for paid family leave in the first couple of weeks, I think, was already up about where they projected the budget was going to be for the year or something. So
the biennium.
So they're going to have to figure out what they're going to have to do there.
I'm shocked. I'm just completely shocked that happened.
Really?
So
your pet bird died, and I got 20 weeks off.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. I mean, I don't know who all has done it, but I've heard that some members of the legislature have drafted articles of impeachment for Governor Walz and so forth. But
yeah, they tried that before.
I'm not really.
Eric Mortensen, I think, was the guy who did that before.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that anybody had done that in any recent years. But
it failed at the Supreme Court, Minnesota Supreme Court. Yeah.
It was very likely would again.
Yeah.
But how would it get to the Supreme Court? Because that's what I'm wondering. Because I don't know. I'm not familiar with how impeachment works at the state level. I've seen very little of examples of that in any recent time. So, but you would think the way it works nationally, of course, is the House.
The trial in the Senate.
With the House will pass the impeachment, and then the Senate holds the trial to see whether there's a conviction or not. But
the House has one standard, though, and the Senate has another.
But you know, regardless of who drafts these articles of impeachment, that they're not going to get 68 votes in the House for it. But it'll be interesting to see how it's processed, what they do with it.
Yeah, it's too bad because it should be unanimous.
Yeah, it should be. Let me look here.
I mean, he was just on saying that it's what was it? I mean, you can look it up. That fraud is basically it's like not much of anything. It's really I don't know exactly what he said, but his most recent interview where he said he wasn't going to run for office, not for governor, but like not running for office again anywhere. I don't know if he could get elected anywhere or not, but
Minneapolis, he'd probably lose a primary.
It's like blown way out of proportion,
of course it is. It's just his way of escaping accountability. I mean, he's not going to say anything about it. I mean, I just hope that after this stuff dies down, that the fraud ramps back up, because I'm worried about the not focusing on that,
right?
And that we're going to have to get back on. I mean, I support both. I support the deportations, and I also support the fraud investigations. But we got to get back on the ball with this, because the amount of fraud is, and like you said, they're making more of it. They're making more of it as we speak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there will be a push, I'm sure, from the left to put more restrictions on immigration enforcement. Even at the state level. I mean, and whether or not they can get any support in the House for that, I don't know. But people in the abstract were on board with Trump, deporting the surge of illegals, right? But now it starts devolving to the worst of the worst. Well, if you just only focus on the people that they've actually apprehended and put in a county jail somewhere, well, that leaves the vast majority of the influx that crossed during the Biden times here. And if you do that, there are real consequences to that.
Yeah. Let me make a clarification. Did you want to say something first?
I think that's right. I think that they're going to have to deal with the people who came here, but they have to do it quickly, because here's the problem, Jay. You and I have talked about this before. 2 illegal aliens come here and they have a child. Yes. That child's a citizen. Okay, now you and I both know that's not what the 14th Amendment says, but that's how it's been interpreted. So what are you going to do?
That's on the Supreme Court docket, I think.
Yeah. Are you going to keep the child here and deport the parents?
Can't.
Okay, so
you shouldn't.
What do you do? So that becomes the conundrum the longer you let this go.
Right.
And so you got to deal with that. I mean, I think there are ways to do it, but I fear that they'll never be followed through on.
Right.
We went through this in the Reagan years with the Simpson-Mazzoli bill that and the problem was way smaller back then. But I say that's what turned California into a blue state. California was a red state for a long time. And the deal was amnesty in exchange for border control. The Democrats never came up with the border control, but they got the amnesty. So what did that become? A magnet for anybody who could run, swim, or jump. And what you're going to do here is if you don't deal with this, if you let this go, okay, yes, you're going to deport the criminal. That's important. Okay, I'm not diminishing that. And 2.5 million people have already gotten the hot heave-ho. Some of it's self-deporting. But the question becomes, there's a Democratic president again, what happens? You influx another 20 million. Now, you haven't dealt with the one that have already been here. And in Minnesota, they get a driver's license. They already have legal status. I mean, I'm told they don't vote, but...
Right. But you've seen it.
I personally witnessed it. I testified that in front of the legislature. So, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No, that's fine. I just wanted to clarify. There has not been an impeachment attempt against Walz in the past. There was a recall attempt in 2020 that the Supreme Court struck down because there was not enough malfeasance in their eyes.
Well, they tried a recall against the no-show legislators early last year too. And again, the threshold on recall in this state is extremely high. They don't make it a very usable tool.
Yeah, but our Supreme Court has been either appointed by Walz or Dayton.
But even our laws and what it says about recall makes it pretty hard to use it.
Yeah.
Compared to some other states like California, for example, where they recalled their government.
Yeah. But for impeachment, it's just the House of Representatives that has the power to do that here in the state. And then...
but like I said,
the senators have to vote on it.
I'm positive they won't get 68 votes, right, for it.
Right.
But what if people file articles of impeachment? How are they going to be processed? That's going to be interesting to me because I've never seen that before.
Well, plus with a divided legislature, how does it get through the committees and stuff? Would you start at, I don't even know what committee that would go to. Government ops or something? You'd have to create one.
Ethics?
Ethics?
Maybe ethics, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, because they can impeach for corrupt conduct in office or crimes and misdemeanors. Those are the two stipulations. So the governor with a copy of the impeachment, at least articles at least 20 days before the trial begins.
But a trial can't begin until the House impeaches
votes to impeach,
right?
I would think.
Yeah. Yeah. So same as federally. Then the Senate is the one who convicts or not. And,
I just feel like there has to be the idea, he's not going to run. He's just going to either you have to cut a deal with Walz or he has to be the first domino or you're going to have to go balls out at him because you're never going to reveal all this until people from the inside start pointing the finger at somebody else.
Yeah.
It's just the only way it's going to happen. And I'd rather serve the greater good of exposing this and reforming and getting rid of these programs. They're never going to go anywhere. There's never going to be a time. Every little program is portrayed as the dam breaking if it's reformed or eliminated. And the only way it's going to happen to me is for people to really recognize how much money is being taken from them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it just, everything else just seems like...
when the Democrats had trifecta control in 2023, they didn't worry about whether 85% of the people were with them on every single issue. They just pushed everything
there were none.
as far and as fast as they could, knowing that it's very rare that anything gets repealed.
Yeah.
So even if somebody loses office or something,
they push stays there for
they'll
good.
find some nice cabinet position or nonprofit position or something for them.
Yeah, they'll make more money.
And meanwhile, all those advances that they had stay in place. So
yeah, it's brutal. It's just
Yeah.
enough to make you cry.
Yeah,
Well, I'll
That's
tell you
just
what.
sad.
I still go back to, and I know this is unpopular in some circles, but I think that because I hate having a House and Senate. I don't understand why we do. I understand what we do at the federal level. I don't get why we do it at a state level. But let me just say this. I think the only way that we will ever fix this, because you're never going to go back to single bills. You're never going to do that. This is the way they're going to operate from now on.
we have to demand it.
It's not going to happen. They're not going to do it. Nobody's going to make them do it until the Supreme Court changes, which would take a generation. Okay, it would take a generation of Republican governors to get that to happen. I mean, you're going to be stuck with these omnibus bills. What you're going to have is you're going to have super majorities to pass anything, because right now all anyone does is try to get 50 plus 1 and then ramrod anything that they can.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's not how our country's supposed to work. We're a republic.
Yes.
Okay, so if you need a supermajority, then everything has to be negotiated, and instead of one side just pushing anything they want to, and I know that that's not popular with some people who you have this all or nothing attitude, but the idea that we're going to have education spending and one party by one vote can just ramrod whatever they want to. I mean, no matter whether you're in the minority or the minority, that's not the way our government's supposed to work. So to me, and again, like I've said before, can we have a governor who knows he has a line item veto? Can we have that?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure when the last time that was used. I mean, Dayton probably did it when Republicans were in charge.
He did do some line item veto.
I know Pawlenty did it quite a bit.
He infamously vetoed the actual funding to operate the legislature one time. Remember that?
I don't.
Well, I still give him a little credit for using it, because I'd use it and set records with it. And I also think this, that the governor has no business negotiating with the legislature.
Right.
He has no business doing that. It is a separate branch of government. You should not be in on the negotiating.
No, you enforce the laws that the legislature makes. That's the way it works.
But it's all part of the fix. They all go in a smoke-filled room, which a city council can't do, a county commission can't do. They all have to do everything in public. They don't.
Right.
They go into smoke. Oh, we got a deal. I go, okay. We'll find out in December what's in it. But, I mean, it's just the legislature's so broken. It's so bad that I'm not sure there's another fix other than no more 50 plus 1. And maybe that will get it to break down into saying, or a governor who will use the line item veto. I mean, that will break it down. You have to break it down. Because if the governor were to take an omnibus bill with 50 things in it and sign 30 of them and veto 20 of them, it forces the bill to be broke down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's... it's a broken process. And until both Republicans and Democrats feel the heat of a populace that is not happy with the way that they're legislating, they have no reason to change.
Well, there are several candidates, as we know, in this election cycle that are not part of the system, not part of the legislature right now.
Yeah.
So they can.
I haven't even declared my candidacy.
They can try to capitalize on that, but we'll see how it goes.
Well, who do you like, John?
Well, I'm not getting into that too.
Oh, you're not. Who do you like? Who do you like right now?
I mean, our organization obviously doesn't. We don't give money to candidates or endorse candidates, but we do present awards at our annual banquet, which is coming up. So.
I've just said this before that because I want to do away with the endorsement process. So if you have to appeal to a wider audience, I'm not sure who can do that right now, but whoever gets the I don't want to say Minnesota needs their own version of Trump. That's not how I mean it. That they need to make it us against the elites.
Yeah.
Not Republican Democrat so much, but us against the system is fixed. It's not baloney.
But the endorsement, the caucus convention endorsement process is actually a check on the elites controlling everything, because the donor class,
there's some truth to that.
Way more in primary only states, particularly where they're not closed primaries,
which they should be.
But they're not here.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Only Republicans should pick the Republican candidate.
Right. So
that's another part of the broken system. But I just don't like is going around talking to the same 500 people and say, that's not how we can't pivot. We can't pivot in July or June and have early voting start in September. I mean, it's not enough time to get going on something. And I just feel like everybody's trying to out-conservative each other, and that has nothing to do with winning in November.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. I just know that being in that, I was in that system for a long time, and I think the bad things outweigh the good things. You're right on the check to the donor class, but I also think it takes money to do this. And so it's I don't know.
Yeah, you're right.
But you do have other states. You have states like Texas where the good old boys still kind of run it.
Yeah.
It's still the Bush Rove faction that's still in charge there.
It is. I mean, when they're putting Democrats in charge
pretty heated
of
Senate contest.
Yeah, really heated. They got an early primary. Their primary is in late April, early May in Texas.
Really?
Paxton.
But they probably most of the states that do that probably do not have a second year session that goes almost
Texas
into
doesn't.
summer.
Yeah, they only have
that's
one.
the real problem with doing that.
Yeah.
Because then you have a whole window of time after which it's not only when the primary is, but the filing deadline is like 2.5 months before that.
Yeah.
Right.
So I mean, if you have a March primary, your filing deadline was basically around New Year's this year. Okay.
Yeah.
So then if you have anything in the second session, people can pass things with impunity, knowing nobody can run against them. That's not a recipe for accountability either.
That's a problem as well.
So.
And I know, and I want an early primary, but I've said this before, John. We should have one session in the odd year like we used to, and that's the way it should be. And then an early primary, so we can fight the other side for the entire even year, not ours. So, but you're right. I mean, if nobody thinks they're going to be held accountable for something, they'll do whatever the hell they want to. And that's no good. What are you going to do? Beat them after they win, and then next time?
well, how many non-competitive state legislative districts do we have?
About 70-80%. Yeah.
I mean, just now we had a special election in Woodbury, which 20 years ago they were electing Republicans there.
Yes.
And we didn't even have a Republican candidate on the ballot.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And that was a vacancy that was open because the House member took the cat burglar's seat in the Senate.
Oh, yeah.
But then
Mitchell.
Yeah.
Right. So
I got a text from Amy Klobuchar today too.
Oh, I bet.
How'd she get my number again?
I don't know.
She was one of my first followers when I got on Twitter, and I have no idea how. This must staff person must run it or something.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't share the Republican belief that she's the Bush Cheney Republican belief that she's unbeatable. I think the Democrats have spent the last month clearing the field.
Yeah.
Because I think there were other people who wanted to run, and I think threats were made or promises were made or something like that. But I think running for governor is a different animal. And it's easy to sit in the Senate and vote, down the line with the Dems and then not have anyone in the media or anybody, never subject yourself to anything tough. I'm not sure she can get away with that this time. I mean, I don't believe in her invincibility.
Although this is now the third cycle in a row. Well, not third cycle, third. Dayton coming up from, being a federal lawmaker, Walz being a federal lawmaker, and now Klobuchar. This is a pattern, and we have to watch this. Dayton won easily.
The second time,
Yes,
not the first time.
Right. The first time was a little
We
tougher.
committed suicide with Jeff Johnson.
But then Walls came in, and
Dayton, the first time, that was...
Emmer, that was the one that was really close.
that was close. But Tom's a
Well,
tough.
they had that Tom Horner kind of peel people off.
Yeah.
he did get a good chunk, like 15%.
Anyway.
But it's the same playbook.
Well, it is, but I think that the Dems, whoever runs the party, whoever took out Al Franken took out Tim Walz, and it's like, okay, look, we're going to take you out, we're going to insert Klobuchar in here, and we're going to take the next couple of weeks, make sure she has smooth sailing. That's the way and it's all been orchestrated behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But, Dayton or Walz had a much tougher... Neither one of them won the endorsement.
Yeah.
It was Anderson Kelleher back in 2010, and it was Aaron Murphy in 2018. So they had to go to a maintain to win. So I this time I think they want to maintain power, and they see her as the best vehicle to do that. And a fight is going to make it harder.
Yeah.
And so that's the Dems think they have this one. I mean, I know they think that.
Yeah.
And the moderate Republicans agree with them. And we can't accept that view. And so
Well, we need somebody that's willing to print what she said and shown what she's done.
we need somebody to go after her hard.
Yeah.
I mean, not with kid gloves.
These U.S. Senate candidates, they need to go after them, too.
Very much so.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I loved how Channel 5 called it Angie Craig the moderate against Flanagan, because they never used the word liberal.
Yeah.
And it's like, moderate on what?
Yeah.
Name anything. Name one.
I can't.
Name one issue.
Yeah.
Amy Klobuchar, name one issue.
Votes
One
with the
issue
Dems
is she does
92% of the time.
She's just not just down the line
Yep.
with them.
92% of the
And
time.
I think it's probably higher than that
Yeah.
if you take the really important stuff.
Yeah.
Like if you take the top 10 issues, it's 100.
Probably.
Yeah, okay, she works with so-and-so on
Yeah.
Susan Collins on
Right.
some abstract
Well, that
thing
could
and
be,
calls
yeah.
herself bipartisan. I mean, it's her
Mm-hmm.
what she's been able to get away with has got to be. And I'll tell you what else I would do. I'd go after the
What else? What else would you do?
I would go after the statements she's made when she was Hennepin County attorney.
Yeah.
They're totally different than what she says now about fighting criminals.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
She was tough on crime, and now she's not. So which is it?
yeah, but it's going with she's just floating with wherever the party
Yeah,
is. She's being
right.
a chameleon.
She didn't vote for the Lake and Riley Act.
I know, incredible. She was killed, and I don't remember anyone rioting. Can't remember that.
Yeah.
John, when's the big banquet?
February 26th.
All right.
At the Mermaid. There'll be more information on the lea-mn.org website shortly, probably within the next week or so.
So is this report on there for people to
It
read
is.
and
It
see?
is.
Yeah.
It is, and past reports are as well. If you're
Good.
looking for electoral research, there's a number of people running for higher office that have been evaluated quite a bit of time over the years. You might learn quite a bit about. With some of our conclusions, you'll learn more about the legislation and why we arrived at the conclusions we did. So, they're bringing in for a speaker this year. It looks like we're bringing in Cliff Maloney. He was with Young Americans for Liberty. He's now in an organization called Citizens Alliance.
That's because I'm unavailable.
He's the Pennsylvania Chase. Have you heard about that? That in 2024 to help elect Trump and the U.S. Senate candidate, they did a massive mobilization, door knocking mobilization to track down ballots. Yeah, all over the state of Pennsylvania to just boost the absentee early voting percentage of that wasn't controlled by the Democrats. In the current system, that's probably the best you can hope for, and it made a difference. I mean, they reached out to communities that oftentimes didn't vote at all, like the Amish, and so forth. And
they did that in other states too, Arizona, Nevada. Nevada, they had a great
so
system.
I'm not exactly sure what all he's going to be talking about, but that's probably what he's most famous for is mobilizing low propensity voters and getting them into the political participation for trying to advance liberty.
And that's what we need because of the number of same-day registrations in the state. We need to up the ante on our registrations.
I've said it before. We have to play. We got to be better than them at their game until we can change the rules.
Yeah.
I mean, then there's a little bit of you wonder to some extent people when you do that, there's vested interests that have made their reputation, made their living on the rules that exist, or got elected in the system with the rules that exist, and you wonder how much they'll try to change the rules once.
Right.
But
that's true. But I still feel
I know where you're going from. You got to play with the rules of the game that you have. So.
They may not change the rules as much as we liked it to, but I know that we have a chance to change them if certain people aren't there anymore. We have no chance if
Right.
So, but the thing about it too is I remember in Nevada, I can't remember the guy or the group. It was similar to that, similar to a Scott Pressler or Charlie Kirk's group was in Arizona, and how they identified those. And this is again where I come back to registering as a Republican.
Yeah.
They knew where the Republican voters were. They knew if they voted in the presidential election or they didn't vote in the governor's race or who showed up at the primary or who usually votes early or who doesn't and who's voted maybe in 2020 but they didn't vote in 2016. They had all that info, and that's so the information is incredibly valuable, and they did such a much better job, at least Trump's people did anyway.
And the Secretary of State, he'll hand it out to certain groups, but then other groups he won't hand it out.
Which is, again, a violation of his oath of office.
Yeah. But if we were to go after people that voted in 2020 in the presidential year or 2024, and get those people who don't vote in the gubernatorial years, that would make up a lot of that ground.
Yeah. The problem is identifying those voters without having them register as Republicans. You don't know who they voted for.
Right.
So and then you have Democrats voting in a Republican primary. It's just the Wild West here.
Yeah.
The Wild North. The Wild North. There's a lot of states like that. I mean, there's a lot of states where you don't identify as a voter. It's like half and half almost, I think. Wisconsin doesn't, and Georgia doesn't. Some of the most important states at least in a national case, don't have that. So it's reorganizing.
Does Wisconsin have closed primary? I think they do. I'm not sure, but
I don't know because I don't think you register as an R or a D. So I don't know. I'm not sure how that would work there, but I don't think they. Good question. How do you have a closed primary if you don't register as a...
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, there's a lot of work to do. That's all I know.
Well, Wisconsin, they're cheeseheads. They don't do it right. They don't do anything right. Right? I mean, you got the Brewers. Right? They're just kids. When I think of the Brewers, I still think of the I consider Paul Molitor a Brewer.
Paul Molitor, Robin Yount, that era.
I think of Cecil Cooper and Gorman Thomas, and to me, it's still they've never changed.
Right.
The Brewers are still in the American League East.
Yes.
Well, the Twins are doing everything right? Maybe not.
I'll tell you what. I just to digress for a second on the Twins, because Brad and I will do a show during spring training, but the Twins are doing exactly what I hoped and prayed they wouldn't do. I wanted them to either blow it up or somehow spend $60 million more and do something with it. I thought maybe these new owners would insist. Now it's a venture capital group, which proves the Pohlads are not losing money.
Yeah.
Okay, because there's no way a venture capital Mitt Romney type group would come in there and invest in a team to lose. Okay,
Yeah.
but the Twins are doing exactly what I didn't want them to do. They're just going to take the same team that lost 90 games, bring out a couple of guys who had a good year in 2019. And bring them in, and that's the formula now. And it's just, But there ain't going to be baseball in 27, John. I think we're going to miss at least half the season. So spring training is like one of my favorite times of the year. So I have to get excited. I have to get excited. No matter what, I got to get excited. I went to the spring training when they were still in Orlando.
I did too.
I don't know if I've ever seen you not excited. So.
This is true.
It doesn't take much, does it?
So anyway,
well, John, thanks
Wisconsin
for your
has an
time.
open primary system, by the way. So
I thought so.
all right. Thank you once again for bringing me in. Appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Well, thank you for coming in. We look forward to hearing this every year, as much as it's painful for us to have to listen to what our legislature did to us.
But you know what?
Yeah.
It's educated. It's so important that somebody break down this stuff.
Absolutely. It
Say
is.
it in English to people.
Yeah.
And you don't get the details of this. Are hard to figure out.
You'll get some of the honorees at our banquet probably talking about some of this as well. Some of the legislators that scored the highest, which are usually not the leaders, but so you'll get to hear from different voices. And somebody else nationally who's doing quite a bit. So,
well, why don't you one more time let us know when that banquet is and how people can sign up
it's the
for
night
it?
of February 26th at the Mermaid in Mounds View, and you'll go to lea-mn.org within the next week or so. We should have an official invitation and registration information out. So be looking for that. Because advanced registration is needed too, so it's.
Was that a Thursday night?
It is a Thursday night this year, yes.
Fantastic.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, John.
Hey, we'll save the sign-off sermon for next week.
What?
Yeah, I got to go home to watch a Lifetime movie.
Oh, my word. Oh, my word. Let me just say this and wrapping it up. All right. I'll keep it condensed. This is like
Do I have to do it here? Styling, profiling, limousine riding, jet flying, wheeling, dealing, son of a gun?
I guess that makes it official. We hear this stuff, and we know in the back of our head somewhere that we're being robbed, that people aren't taking their constituents seriously, that we just watched the billions of dollars of fraud that's going into the hands of people that are sending it out of our country. We watch suitcases of cash going out of our country. We watch people that take advantage. They come and they make laws here, and they're not things that most of us agree with, but somehow we put these people back into office. There's a very small number of legislators, I think, who have stood up and really fought for some of these changes. And hopefully that number is going to increase. And hopefully this year we're going to see in the few swing districts we have in Minnesota that maybe, just maybe, we will get an edge, so that we might be able to look at changing our voting laws, changing the school choice, changing how things are audited, so that we might see less fraud. Why shouldn't we be able to keep more of our money? Why should we have a state that is such a big surplus from overtaxing us end up with such a huge deficit because they're robbing us blind? There's a problem here. We need to care enough to get to the bottom of it. Well, that's where you come in. That's where we come in. You know, we're here and we're already in process taking on clients for this this upcoming election cycle, so that we can teach them how to run a great campaign at the city level, the county level, at the school board level. Heck, we have worked with people at the state level as well. And you know what? We have a habit of winning. So if that's you, if you're interested in putting your hat in the ring, if you're interested in working with a candidate, if you're interested in having a podcast or something else where you're going to be able to do citizen journalism in a way that is going to open people's eyes to what's happening in your area, then give us a jingle, drop us a line, whatever you need to do to get a hold of us. COMMsolutionsMN@gmail.com. That's COMMsolutionsMN@gmail.com. And we will get back to you. And let's do this. Let's swing this state. Let's turn this state is a 50-50 state, for crying out loud. It really is. When you get rid of the same day voting, you get rid of the fraud, you get rid of all that stuff, it really is a 50-50 state. So why don't we just do it? Let's push it through for one election cycle, and then when we look back in November, we can change some laws and we can make things go the way they ought to. It's that simple. Just push it through. It's almost February. That's 9 more months. 9 more months till there's an election. We can do this, Minnesota, but we need you. We love you, Minnesota, but now it's your turn to get to work.